Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Need I Remind You podcast, a podcast hosted by yours truly, Yolanda Youngblood, a Black woman just out here sharing her lived experiences of taking care of myself, healing, and liberating this mind word by word. And I'm here once a month, the last Monday of every month. So if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. There are other episodes that you can go and check out if that's what you so desire. But if moving forward you have questions or comments, just feel free to jump in wherever you want. This is an open space that I want people to feel comfortable sharing on the Substack platform or wherever you're listening to this. It is my hope that people find resonance with things that I'm saying, but if not, it is no heat, no judgment. I am operating from a place of compassion and non-judgment. At least that is my practice. I am not a perfect person. No matter how many certifications in mindfulness and yoga and mental and emotional intelligence that I seek after and achieve, I still am human. I still got things to work on. And I wanted to talk about that because I've been seeing a lot of things come up around the ways in which we work on ourselves, or we're constantly trying to heal and be well and overcome things. And I think that's a beautiful thing. There's some beautiful things that come out of that. For me personally, I have taken not one, but two trainings this past month that deepened my awareness in wellness modalities that I haven't really centered in my life. One being ancestral practice and connecting with my ancestors and expanding what ancestry looks like for me, not only Black lineage or the lineage of African descent, which I come from by DNA, but also extending to the land and to other ancestors of other identities that I feel connected with, that I feel like if they didn't come before me, I might not be the woman that I am or the person that I am. And so just finding connections in those other unseen worlds is something that was really interesting for me. Another connection that I plugged into this month was around reimagining masculinity. And the training was focused and centered on Black men and Black boys, but Black women and femmes were invited to the space to participate in the training as well. And, I went with the intention of taking some notes for my nephews or something, and be a little nosy to hear what the Black men were talking about. But I quickly realized in the training and in the introductions that this was not going to be a Black man, Black boy conversation. This is going to be about masculinity, and patriarchy is something that affects everyone in different ways. And we are all swimming in the waters of some toxicity and some painful things, beliefs, practices, and behaviors that we reach for because we know of maybe the perceived or realized benefits that come with being more masculine, or being perceived as more masculine or patriarchal in this society. And so there was a lot of teachings for me to take in and just reflect on, which a lot of things I have already known, just being a daughter of a Black man and learning a lot from him, but also learning a lot from men of the world that I used to work with, that I went to school with, and just recognizing that, these things I learned from men, but I also learned from women and how they use masculinity and how I have adopted some of these behaviors myself. and just checking in with those behaviors to see if I'm being accountable to my actions, and how well I'm doing at that if I'm not aware of those things. So I say all of this to say that there are a lot of interesting, juicy, rich information, content, and trainings out there for people to learn how to improve and heal and do their work, quote unquote. And I'm on the bus. Like, I am on the bus with everybody else with like healing and doing the work. But for today's episode, I wanted to focus more on what I'm more curious and more interested in talking about with people in a roundtable discussion or on the boots on the ground kind of way of how do we organize and stop looking at our individual selves and how we can self-improve, and how are we going to look at the systems and the ways that we can start to invest and pour our resources and our talents into the initiatives that are already happening around creating more harmonious systems, more healthy systems for all people, not just for you, me, and a few more who can get in this lifetime, and then we'll see what happens next generation or next lifetime. Like, things for me move way too slow when it comes to systematic changes. And I know, like, the world is in God's hands. That's my belief. I'm not over here trying to rush the process or think that little old me or a group of us can just somehow like totally flip the script worldwide. I'm getting at the belief and the hope and the faithful practice of moving towards the impossible in a more organized fashion. I feel like there's a lot of information out there, but I don't know where to put my resources sometimes. I don't know where to ground down. And I think that's where the self-centering and the curiosity comes in, with grounding in yourself and seeing what your capacities are, seeing what your resources are, and seeing how healed you are in your process to say, okay, now I feel sufficiently healed to go back into community organizing, or go back into this level of work, or this level of organization, or this level of community efforting. And it flows. I think for me personally, it flows in and out. Like, you might find me volunteering here and there. I definitely carry my practice in everyday embodiment of just holding space for people, being a warm, approachable person in person, and making sure that people see my eyes. I'm not looking at everybody because I'm recognizing, being in a larger city, people just want to say whatever they want to say. And sometimes that invites some disrespect. So sometimes I am guarding my energy, and I'm not just out here, being so generous with my kindness where I know like people aren't ready to receive it with respect and dignity that I deserve. However, I don't let that deter me from shining my light most of the time. And of course, putting boundaries where boundaries need to go. But I do feel like there's been a downshift and a drop in the energy towards collective organizing when it comes to really breaking down some of the systems that are in place. So when we're focusing so heavily on self-healing and trying to overcome things, I want us to remember that we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be, we're never going to be perfect, period. We have everything that we need. There are some things that, yes, you take care of because you're being specific about the type of healing and recovery that you need to get done. And however long that takes is up to you. You have that self-determination and that agency. I believe that wholeheartedly for everyone. So I'm not, again, this is no heat, no judgment towards anybody's methods towards healing on a personal aspect. What I'm getting at is, for me, and what I see in others sometimes, is this stuckness or this stagnancy of hiding behind our well-being practices and just trying to refine it and trying to refine it. I'll give you an example. With this podcast, I've been trying to get out an episode this week, and I find myself re-recording and re-recording. And it's like, Yoli, what are you trying to say? Say the thing. It does not have to be polished and perfect. Just say the thing. If you need to write down some notes, write down some notes, but say the thing so we can move on. And this is not about rushing the process, but it's about noticing what you're investing your time and energy in, and putting a limit on that, to say like, okay, there are other things that I want to spend my time on and need to spend my time on. This will not be the reason why I don't get the other things done when I'm letting this cut over. So it is a self-management that I look at to say, like, am I putting my energy towards the best values, or towards the seeds that need the most watering that I know I want to see grow? Or am I over here just watering and watering and watering something that has already received enough nourishment, enough light for the day? I'm not saying that we get to a healing plateau and now you're ready to take off. No, but you do get a rhythm and a pace going with some of your healing, or at least I can speak for myself. I've gotten a rhythm and a pace for my healing well enough to know that I'm ready to go to the next level of collective and community care. And that scares the bejuju out of me. Like, I have been in those waters of community and collective care where it was not balanced. It did not feel fair and just. It felt draining and mediocre and stressful, chronically stressful. And so I eliminated it because I am not with the chronic stress. I will not give my life as a sacrifice, or my well-being as a sacrifice, or my joy as a sacrifice in order to get ahead as the collective. I'm not here for that. We've learned enough from our ancestors as well. And now that I'm learning more how to connect with ancestors even more now, and just inviting them in my space and listening through nature and different ritual, I'm able to recognize, like, ancestors are still speaking to us, and they can still communicate ideas and thoughts and needs of what they see that we can't quite see on our own. So being able to just find different ways and not just work tirelessly or chronically stressed or burning the midnight hour, that's what I'm trying to avoid. But I still have to go through the lion's den. Like, I still have to go through the darkness to see what's on the other side, because I don't know what's ahead. But I do know that I can't get there trying to skirt around or trying to avoid the dark spots. It's like, no, you take your flashlight in the dark spots and you shine your light, and you do that with the wisdom and the protection of all your resources, all your might. And you don't let the past rule you. So I say all that to say that I have been feeling ready to connect with community, ready to deepen in my intimacy practices with my relationships, and still wanting in my heart to find like-minded individuals and perhaps groups where I feel a connection already, to talk about the ways we can activate healing justice in systems of care, community practices, just the ways that we take care of each other. A lot of times that I've seen is like two school of thoughts that I've been seeing. Like either it's, like people are charging to come together and do community care, and that makes me feel like, sometimes. And then people are not charging to do community care, and I'm like, okay. And so there's two ways that I can go, or I can, find a mix in between, but I get to decide, and that decision is on me. When I try and I make a decision, I get to feel into the data and the evidence of that, because it happened, and I can reflect, oh, what did I learn from this? But if I just sit with something, I really don't know until I do it. So I want to just name that, because I've been feeling a yearning in my heart to accelerate or push forward through a door. But I've also recognized that I am scared, or I feel fear. I feel it's not even fear. Fear feels like holy, it feels like shaking the table kind of fear. That's how I use the word fear. Nervousness, I feel a touch of nervousness, and I think I feel more nervousness when I get closer to an event or to a new adventure. But what I'm really feeling is a smallness, of a little bit of a powerlessness, and a longing to belong and to connect, because I don't want to do things alone. I feel like I've done enough things alone, where I'm kind of growing a little weary of being alone. Like a touch of loneliness comes up more now than before, and I'm okay with how I feel. But I'm recognizing that I don't want to just fall into dynamics or a comfortable relationship, or just saying yes to things if they're not right for me, if they're really not aligned to my values and to the way that I want to operate. And it feels like I'm asking for too much sometimes. Like I might be denying blessings before they get to the door because of my non-fear feeling. Because it's quaky. And it's causing turbulence, and I don't want to disturb my peace. I don't want to disturb my well-being. If you know what I mean, let me know in the comments of that feeling where you're opening yourself back up to something, you're starting something again, or you're trying something for the first time in a different way, but it feels familiar. You feel competent, you feel ready to try again, you feel stable, but you just like want somebody to hold your hand who you can trust, and you find people who want to invite you in, and they're not your people yet. Like, y'all haven't really built a relationship yet. Like, this is like a huge first step for you. And I think it's important to let people know, like, I let someone know that I met for the first time that I was on the fence about our potential relationship. And it was for like a work opportunity, and I was just like, I appreciate all these things, and I reached out to them, wanting to know about their services, and but I just let them know, like, I just feel some apprehension about this, and it's not because of anything you said. This is something new for me, and I'm just not sure if this is the way I want to go just fully yet. But I know that there's some value here, and I don't want to discredit the value of your service, because I see the value too. So it's just really for me about making space for my needs and my feelings in the greater scheme of things. That's the tension, the self-preservation, I guess you would call it, or the self-healing and the self-focused, and the collective healing and the collective care. It's that balance of the interdependence of the two. So I'm learning that saying how I really feel moment to moment, because I'm an intuition girl. I can rehearse and rehearse all day, but like what comes out of me in the moment is the truest thing. And so that's where I try to keep my channel clear, stay hydrated, stay fed, stay well nourished, doing the things that I know support me, such as going on my nature walks, working out, doing my pole dancing classes, tapping into my sensuality, tapping into play, going to a museum, or going to a tea party, or relaxing at a beautiful Black-owned coffee shop, or really like immersing myself in play and pleasure and joy. That's what keeps me nourished, and that's what keeps me connected to feeling good and knowing when my body is not feeling something. Like when something is off for me, not because I think everything should be pleasant or likable. That's far from it. But sensing into when the discomfort does come up, how do I respond to it? How do I face it? Am I scared to say how I really feel? Or do I say how I really feel and accept the awkwardness or accept the messiness of how it comes out? But at least I got it out. And can I just be kind to myself, the fact that I got it out and I said what I needed to say, and I wasn't more focused on how you felt about it than how I felt about it. We were on the same playing field. So that to me is a balance of what I'm learning as I'm trying to take up more space in my personhood. And like I mentioned, like staying connected to my joy and my pleasure practices really helps. One thing for pole fitness, I think a lot of people recognize that it takes a lot of strength to be good at pole. And I would say I'm not good at pole right now. Not like the things that people think when they think about pole, like, you know, swinging on the pole and like really holding your body weight in your arms and in your shoulders. Like, I am weak when it comes to the shoulder work. And that was confirmed in a balance class that I took over the weekend. But, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I know I'm not giving up. I know I'm coming back to it. I know I'm facing my fear, and I know I'm protecting my body because I know I can injure myself. And no matter what happens, I done signed these people's waivers, so they don't care if I get hurt. Like when they telling me to push it or you got it, like I still have to believe and trust in my own channel and ask myself, do you have it? Because don't be out here trying to push past limits to please somebody. So that's what dance gives me. It gives me the allowance to try new things, to try hard things and see how I feel about them. It's not about how I look or how pleasing it is to you or someone else of what I'm doing. Or if you got a check mark as a teacher that all your students can now invert, but Yolanda over here, she not up to the par. Like, get out of here. I'm paying money to be up in here. So I say all that to say to say that like there's a balance of both listening to yourself and reaching for growth as a collective and finding your community, finding like-minded individuals to build with and to sustain growth with. That's a challenge. And every day I'm grateful to be able to meet those challenges in different ways, different capacities. But I do recognize that I have a calling for more. Like the relationships I have to the subjects that I love to talk about are not as strong as I wish they were. And the things that bring me to this podcast around mental health, around mindfulness, around healing justice, around equity in our systems, in our mental health systems, but it's also in our healthcare systems, also in the ways we are treating each other as just human beings, the inequities in our community as Black folks, and the ways that we treat each other differently based on our sex, gender, sexuality, sexual orientation, age, and I just really want to talk more about those things, but also organize around more of those things. And I know that it's going to take some efforting on my part, which this is a part of my efforting. I don't think I need to push myself or, brute my way into being a better community practitioner or a better organizer. I think I'm doing just fine. And if you're listening to this, know that you are doing just fine. Like, we're okay. It's not that deep at the end of the day. But if you have something yearning in your heart, just know that it's going to take patience. It's going to take kindness. But I believe what I'm seeking is seeking me. And like there's a higher working of energy going on in the universe. Like I don't need to know everything or control or curate everything in order for it to conspire. I've seen that time and time over again. But it is a blessing when I can say like I've achieved something that I was dreaming about. So to know that I'm dreaming and have been dreaming of a community of people to to collaborate with on subjects that I care about, and I'm talking about it on this channel, like, it just makes me smile because I am very hopeful for that to be realized. And in the meantime, in between time, I'll be taking care of myself, and I hope you do the same. Take care. Have a good rest of your week, your month, your year, whenever you're listening to this. I will talk to you next month on the Need I Remind You podcast. Bye.